Welcome to Footy Kicking Good. I'm Jamie Marias, joined with some usual suspects on the couch today. We've got Mikhail Quinless, Christopher Paduano, and Michael Flynn. Michael, thank you for joining us because I feel like it's been a it's been a hard couple of hours for you because we've just finished watching the Collingwood Giants game.
I politely asked for the TV to be turned off, and Chris said, "What do you get to decide?"
Nothing about today was polite.
Chris wanted to hold on and watch a bit of the bounce before it went off. His favourite show, I heard.
Yeah.
I don't want to miss Turn It Up.
Turn it up.
All right, boys. Opening round. It's been the big talking point the last week or so. Where do you guys sit with it? I'm more curious. Is there anyone here sitting on the couch for opening round? Do we want to see it again next year? No.
Definitely not.
Dunzo.
Done with it. Do we think? Is it more the fact that would you be happy if opening round was still those games in those northern states if we still had a full 9-game week?
Yeah.
Okay. No stress.
I actually think I saw Matthew Lloyd talking about playing most of the round interstate, so only having one game in Victoria, but having 2 in Perth, 2 in Adelaide, 2 in Sydney, and 2 in Queensland.
Yeah.
I don't mind that idea, and you wouldn't have had this issue because even if there was bad weather in Queensland, we would have only cancelled 2 games, would have still had a full weekend of footy.
Yeah, I always find it kind of odd how the teams that are playing in opening round don't have the same buys, because obviously that lined up well for Brisbane and Geelong, so they just get to play that bye, but there's no contingency, I guess, for these other teams.
Yeah, but no one's got to predict whether's going to come in.
I'll tell you what though, do you reckon, because the players often go on holidays on their bye, do you reckon there's some players that have booked in trips for a week where they're actually playing? They'd be spewing, surprised.
Surely you wouldn't go for a trip during the first couple of buys.
No, Pete, you'd be surprised. I
think DeGoey was allowed to go
he went to Bali or something. They most of them don't go overseas, but they will go to Queensland or WA, go somewhere with slightly nicer weather.
Yeah. What do you guys think about the Suns and Essendon are now having to play twice in round 24?
I think that the AFL got really lucky that the two teams that that happened to are both potentially not going to have a huge impact in the finals.
That's very risky to say, though.
No, I'm saying that if that had been if the team that was expected to play in the last round had been a top 4 team.
Collingwood, Carlton or something like that.
You could only imagine how much more we would have heard about it. They're lucky that one of the teams has got a very small supporter base.
A scenario for you. So let's say Gold Coast and Essendon play in that pre-finals bye week and they have nothing to play for. They can't make it. They can't change spots on the ladder. They're locked with where they are. How do you think that they would line up? Do you think they would just pick a VFL side or
It's a good point because then you also bring in the discussion about draft picks. If we win this game, we're going to go up. Lose a draft pick. So it's do you just play seconds really?
Yeah.
Especially you don't want to risk an injury right at the end of the season.
You reckon they'll put that game just get it out of the way Thursday night?
I reckon it depends on where they are on the ladder. Because I think Essendon played Carlton that last round as well.
Yeah.
So imagine they playing a massive game, to get into the finals, and then we've got to back it up a few days later.
Yeah, well, even more so, we're talking about what would happen to them if it's a dead rubber and, and their season's done. But what happens if it's actually going to affect where they finish, whether or not they get a home final?
Yeah.
They're we have to lose to get a home final, so let's just use the excuse that, we're playing 2 games in 1 week, so we've split it up and taken a bunch of players out.
Yeah, it's kind of insane to think because the Suns will play 1 game and then have the bye. So, I mean, what benefit does that really have? The other thing that's, really irking me the most is the fact that we're going to go a whole season without an even ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have 2 teams that are always going to be 1 game behind.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
That's going to be brutal because the thing is, Essendon, let's say it's Essendon or Gold Coast, they might be technically in the 8 during the year, towards the end because they have a game in hand. Yeah. But it's they might be sitting in 9th, but everyone's technically they're 8th right now because they have a game in hand. That's just going to be annoying the whole season.
Yeah. What about what do you think's going to happen Brownlow night? Do you think they if let's say there's an Essendon or Gold Coast player there, do they announce those 2 games after everyone else? So it's normally you go into the last round, you go they can't catch him, but now all of a sudden you've got a team that someone who gets 6 votes. in that last round.
I mean, if a Noah Anderson or someone like that, it looks like he might win the Brownlow, you'd be thinking going into the last round he gets double votes.
Yeah. Zach Merritt, even the Coleman. I don't know. Is anyone on those two sides could get a sneaky Coleman?
I think we said Ben King was the only one.
Yeah.
Kako.
No one at Essendon.
Peter Wright after his injury that we found out about today. I don't think he's going to be...
Now, just a quick one, just before we wrap this up. What happens if there is an opening round next year again?
We violently protest. We storm like AFL HQ with like pitchforks and flaming torches.
I reckon it gets scrapped. To be fair, I reckon there's too much outburst.
Mick, you got too much faith in these clowns running out.
I don't think that they'll scrap it just because it's dollars. Like, do you think they care? They would have had probably more people.
Tell me.
People view the two games that we've watched this week than any other games for the seasons because everyone's absolutely off for the season.
It'd be the same if Richmond Carlton opened. Everybody would be watching that as well.
That's what they said last time. Like all the games were sold out last year. It's like, why wouldn't they be sold out again if there's other games getting played as well?
It's more about that. This is just an extra round that they get another set of eyes on, that they get 4 games that people watch desperately because they're after football. And the thing is, if you had 9 games, I probably still would have watched 4. But
the other thing is, because there was only 4, you still get really good TV and ratings and crowds next week because it's like all these teams fans tuned in to watch other teams play. And then next week they get to watch their own team play.
How would you feel if they split it so they had like the 4 up there and then had another 5 the week after? But
that's even worse. That's even worse. Yeah, because then it means next week's affected. Like I just want them to get on with it.
Get on with it.
Yeah.
Well, the uneven ladder is the one that really does my head in. Boys, look, only 2 games, pretty lackluster. I feel like first week of footy, but we're going to go through the teams that have played, and everybody's got a team assigned to them. So I'll throw it out to you boys, and you tell me what you think of the team after seeing them play their one game. So Mickey, you're up first. The Swannies.
For me, Sydney. What I've learned with Sydney is they can't rely on just now Chad Warner and Heaney to win them football games. With Errol Goulding going down injured, I think what really kept them into the game early, anyways, the efficiency up forward. I think they had 3 inside 50s, 3 goals, and then they had 5 for 4 goals. So you're not going to keep that up for a game, and obviously all year you're not going to be able to keep going with that. So I think you need players like, I know Taylor Adams, I think he's injured now, but you need players like him, Rowbottom, even Jake Lloyd to really step up. Grundy, he was really beaten as well. So
I believe he's carrying a slight injury at the moment. He was touch and go to get up for that game. So we'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but some of their experience were a bit down, weren't they?
Yeah, I think he had about 40 hit-outs as well, which is, good effort in that regard.
But I think we can all agree that Meek got the better of him.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah.
Look, I'll say, you look at the past couple of years and their trio of Goulden, Heaney and Warner, they've all been relatively fit. They've all played about 20 games a season, and I feel like even though we know their star potential, they can drop off in a quarter and another guy can bob up.
Yep.
And that's kind of been their strength.
Heaney, to me, is not a consistent superstar. Last year was by far his best player, his best year, sorry. But he's very capable of, going up and down in form.
Yeah.
And he's had injuries and stuff in the past, but, I think it would be foolish to rely on his form from last year coming into this year. I don't think we'll see him replicate that again.
Yeah, even with Heaney as well, with Goulden out before with Goulden in the team, you could chuck Heaney up forward. You could be like that main guy up forward, and he could kick you 3 or 4 goals as well. But I think now he'll probably have to play more permanent midfield time.
Yeah. The other one I feel like they're really missing is Callum Mills, who just can't seem to stay on the park the last two years. I feel like also just because he's the captain of the club, that extra leadership as well, and that just figure point of being on the field, I feel like that's sorely missed, and I'm kind of feeling like maybe that captaincy might change next year.
I think it has to.
Yeah.
I think they should give it to...
Do you guys...
I don't know, Goulden?
Mick kind of alludes to the fact that they kind of need some other guys to step up. Do you think there's anyone younger on the list that you think can take their game to the next level?
Look, I was bullish on a couple of different guys, but they just haven't come on. Especially the key forwards, obviously, like Logan McDonald, Marty's not too bad. He's not as young, obviously. But even guys like Sheldrick, Cleary, they just haven't taken their opportunities.
They haven't needed to.
I also think that the Swans have been starved of of early draft picks for a long time. They've been up for ages. It was always going to, they were pretty lucky. Not lucky, obviously it's good list management and good selection, but, guys like Goulden and these blokes, they weren't extremely high draft picks. So they've been pretty, lucky to sort of not have a lull yet.
But they got them through the academy as well, so it's almost like they don't have to worry about drafting in those years.
Their drafting in the draft has been a bit odd. Similar to GWS, I've been confused with some of the players they've picked up in the draft.
They tend to go a little bit more left field.
Yeah.
And you don't know if that could be a New South Wales kind of thing in terms of trying to lure players over. Maybe it's just that they're having interviews with these guys and they don't feel confident.
The other guy I should have mentioned is Braden Campbell, who we all think is going to be a good player.
Yeah.
But a lot of time has passed and he still really hasn't gotten to that next level.
His problem was he was drafted as a mid-forward and he's been playing half-back, so he's finally moved to the half-forward line. I would love to see him get a run in the midfield because he's got a great left boot.
I think last year he subbed 6 or 7 times, which obviously doesn't help with your continuity.
Yeah. No, 100% agree. Look, there's definitely a lot of upside. Do you read too much into that loss to the Hawks? Do you think that the Swans are down a peg from last year, or do you think they'll bounce back? Or maybe it's a credit to the Hawks.
I think they're too good of a team just to write them off after one game. And Hawthorn are a very good team as well. So and it wasn't like they got absolutely pantsed or anything like that. I think they're only less than a goal down at 3/4 time, and obviously started raining, and then Hawks just kicked 2 or 3 goals in the last quarter.
That Ollie Florent kick that basically killed.
That's a coach killer.
Yeah, and you saw Dean Cox's reaction after it.
I would say that I think they've shown that they're vulnerable. I think that they, I went into last year and I think I've mentioned this once before. Last year, they were a team that they lost to Richmond, who were on the bottom of the ladder, and they got done by 100 points. And that's something you don't normally see from that team that you're expecting to be, just they're gonna take the whole season. And I think that if anything, with their injury, I think that they're probably gonna be lesser than they were last year.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, moving on to the to my mob, the Hawks. Padge, do you take it away? You've got the Hawks today.
I mean, the obvious mention right off the bat is Will Day.
Yeah.
With him cramping and with him spending basically a whole quarter off the field, he kicked his 3 goals during the important part of the game. Yep. He had, a lot of the ball. He was good defensively. I think there was him. Amon showed a lot. I also thought that Meek is one that you'd have to mention, but probably not necessarily shown on the stat sheet, but just in terms of his influence is Sicily.
Yeah.
Sicily was just that's what you were saying before about the leadership. The guy, he just went where he needed to be. He did really well in the back line, and they needed him up forwards. They moved him forward. The Hawks, I think probably the thing that didn't operate overly well was their forward line compared to what they had last year. Watson was struggling to get in the game. Ginnivan, I think, might have kicked a goal, but he didn't kick one. There you go. He wasn't at his best either.
Mick would know that he didn't kick one because it was in his multi.
I honestly do think to have a guy like Day kick 3 goals straight, that's impressive, but I don't think that they were anywhere near at their dynamic best.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I feel like Will Day and Jai Newcombe had equally good years last year, but it was Nuku, the umps noticed more on Brownlow night, so I feel like he didn't get his just desserts day for how good a season he had last year. But look, I mean, you boys are pretty confident he's going to get the 3, I think, from chatting to you boys.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes the umps, just because I feel like he had a stellar first half, not so great second half.
Yeah, but he kicked his goals early and stuff.
I'll bet any amount of money you want, he gets 3 on Brownlow.
Yeah.
All right. No, I'll take you up on that.
I think the only one that could take any votes away from any of the Hawks players, which I don't think he will, but I think Blakey.
Yeah.
Just, he's, again, not necessarily shown on the stat sheet, but just his metres gained for the game was the thing that, kept them in the game.
Yeah.
I think he still had 26 possessions though as well. So.
Yeah.
Kicked a goal.
I think he had 10 kickouts as well. But he always takes them on and gets you that extra yardage. But phenomenal. How do you look at the Hawks season like? Do you think they're going to be better than they were last year?
I think another season under the belt could go one of two ways for them. It's either going to be that the teams they're playing will have figured them out more than last year, but the experience and everything and them actually playing together should mean that they improve. So it's I think that they're less likely to be forcing their way into the bottom of the 8. They'll probably be in the 8 the whole season.
Yeah.
I think right now Hawks have the best depth in the league. And that's obviously counting the fact that they don't really have many injuries. I think Deere is expected to come back. Yeah. Mitch Lewis is obviously a longer term thing, but he didn't play much last year. But when you look at the caliber of players that can't even get into the squad, it's pretty impressive. Like there was there was like I think in the Hawthorn doco they showed, I think it was Hustwaite with Sam Mitchell, and he was sort of saying to him like, you know, you can't get in as a midfielder. And he's like, well, what about the back line? And he's like, mate, like, the back line's stacked. Like,
you ain't getting in that back line.
He's like, look, do I think you're good enough to play? Absolutely. But he's like, there's 25 blokes on this list that legitimately think they should be playing every week.
Yeah.
So it's like, you really are just waiting for injuries, like, at that point. So I think when you consider even a guy like Ward can't break into the best, can't even break in to be the sub, like, that's a damn good lineup.
Yeah. No, it's insane how he's going to move the Magnus around this year, Mitchell.
Yeah.
I don't know how he's going to do it, to be honest, because there is a lot of talent on the side.
But that's a good problem to have as well.
It's a good problem to have.
Longer term, you end up losing good young players because they want to leave for opportunities.
Exactly. Like I remember having Josh Kennedy and Ben McGlynn on the list, and they couldn't get a game, and I thought they were phenomenal.
Ollie Henry at the Pies in 2023.
Yeah.
So you couldn't get 2022.
Yeah, you
couldn't get a game, and then. Yeah,
you can lose some gems, and you think about Ollie Henry playing for the Pies now, he'd probably be their best forward, you'd almost say.
Yeah.
So, it's sometimes how the cookie crumbles, I guess. Yeah. Look, I'm next. I've got your mob, the Pies.
Yeah, this will be good.
You think it'll be good? Look, I mentioned this earlier, I think, in our Pies episode, possibly might happening, but I feel like the list strategy has been to stay away from the draft and top up with free agents. I think Gold Coast have somehow ended up with your first rounder next year. Look, watching him today, it's first game, so sometimes you maybe don't want to read too much into it. But they looked old, they looked slow. They just couldn't move the ball. Even their opportunities in front of goal, like you could look at scoreboard and go, hey, they had this many shots. That's pretty good effort. They didn't look like scoring from any of them. It was pretty disappointing, I feel like.
I honestly thought we looked slow even against Richmond in a game where we won by a lot, but it was probably due to, freakishly accurate goal kicking. But today, it's a bit worrying today to see like side bottom and Pendlebury in at the amount of centre bounces they were in. Like they just seem to be just getting absolutely dominated in there.
Do you think it's a bad sign? Because I feel like side bottom was working really hard today. He was around the ball quite a lot.
But it's more just where's the next crop coming from?
Yeah.
And obviously we saw Ned Long come on as the sub, and like a lot of these blokes like that are youngish midfielders on in the list are sort of, rejects from other clubs and, late draft picks. Like, we haven't really got any high-end talent apart from Nick Dacos.
Yeah. I think, as well, to mention that some of the guys that weren't playing today that are still yet to come back in the side, they're not young either. Like, you've got a couple of guys that were missing, but they're not going to improve your speed.
The whole list sold.
Yeah, especially when you take, what is it, a 50-point loss? Yeah. And probably their two best players missing in Jesse Hogan and Tom Green. It's pretty damning when you look at it. Yeah. It could be an off. Like, teams do have an off start.
So last year we went up there and the exact same thing happened. They just jumped us and ended up smashing us. And we were expected to win. We were the favourites. And again, today we were the favourites again. There's just something about the Giants up there. Like I said to you during the week, Jamie, that they've got a habit. They've smashed us a bunch of times up at that ground.
Yeah.
And they just never looked like losing today, did they?
Yeah. No, it's pretty. I think it was pretty shocking, to be honest, how poor they kind of look. I feel like everybody kind of thinks that the Pies are going to bring back that brilliance they had in 2023, but it hasn't looked like that sparks it.
I think teams have worked them out now, like how to slow them down.
I
honestly
as well. Felt like the Giants played more like the Pies did than the Pies did.
Yeah.
I know that it's obviously it was a hard game to watch, but how about some of the guys that played well for the Pies? I think Cameron played really well.
Yeah.
I don't know who else you would put in that in that list.
honestly,
I think
Perryman.
Yeah, Perryman played well. I think Dacos played well against all the odds. Like Josh Dacos, a little bit wasteful. Had a lot of the ball.
Honestly, every Pies fan in the country will be so frustrated tonight because some of the players that were key cogs in our 2023 premiership have just lost all their ability, whether it's confidence, whether it's their bodies have let them down. But like, I don't think I've seen Queen or make as many mistakes as he did today. Like,
I think he retired him about 4 times.
Yeah, honestly. Well, he just made and it's not like losing a one-on-one. It was like him running past the ball multiple times and then getting a goal out the back. Like, it's just fundamental stuff.
You know what? I noticed he got a haircut as well. And sometimes when they chop off the hair, I remember Chance Bateman chopped off the dreadlocks. It was never the same again.
So he's like, he's Samson,
getting
his haircut. Losing his strength.
That's exactly what I texted Flynn the other day.
But I also feel like, look, I haven't been a fan of the Pies list strategy because I feel like they're doing exactly what Clarko did after our three-peat, where he's just trying to top up and not go into the draft. I feel like the draft is exactly what you need to learn from the older heads now and pass the baton on.
That's also what West Coast did. I think we gave up a lot for Tim Kelly as well, and then you know how that went.
The part of the problem as well is, so I think most were expecting us to be around the 8 this year, which we still could be, but
I've got them in the grand final.
but anyway,
You actually
I
did?
think
I put them
obviously it's
in
a
for
long
the tip.
season, but when you start to look at when you're trading future first rounders, which we've done before, and it's ended up being a pick 2. If we end up finishing somewhere down, relatively low, you're giving up a lot for these mature age players.
And you take into consideration you got Tassie coming in, so drafts are going to start getting compromised as well.
I think, and the other thing is the fact that there's so many good players available at the end of this season, like Matty Rowell and. Obviously, there's a bunch more, but I think we're going to be interested in all of them again. So we're going to be trading even further into the future.
The club has even gone to the AFL to ask if they can trade their pick 2 years from now, their first rounder, because there's a rule like you have to take a first round pick every 3 years or 2 years, something like that. So they've asked questions already.
I'd be seriously considering if you're Collingwood, I'd be seriously considering not looking at a guy like Rowell. Because what's he going to do? It's almost like Taranto at Richmond at the moment. He's wasted. He should be at another club.
That's good.
It's I don't know whether or not he's going to be able to have an effect if the team around him, if there's nothing there.
Yeah. I'm not entirely convinced on whether Schultz, that trade's ever going to pay off for you guys. Perryman looked good. I think he can win the ball. I'm not too sure about him using the ball.
Yeah, disposal didn't really look that.
I think people are also, maybe discrediting the fact a little bit of how important to goal he is in the setup.
Yeah.
Like, when we won the flag, he was, one of our better players, kicked the winning goal.
Yeah.
And so it's, not having... I guess he's sort of that guy that every team needs in the midfield that's sort of like a burst player that can break tackles and stuff.
Yeah.
We look really one-paced in there when he's not there.
Yeah.
Like, we saw today at multiple stoppages, I think Perryman's, not quick. And he'd be in there with side bottom. Then Ned Long comes on. He's not quick. He's in there. I think at the very end they put McCreary in there, and he won a clearance. And he set up a goal. And that's a guy with pace that I think should be experimented more in that midfield.
I think as well. That's not really. I think Perryman stood into a role that he's not really supposed to be. I don't think he's supposed to be the number 1 ball getter on the ground. That's not usually what he did at the Giants. I think he'll slot back into his place once if Dacos is back fit. I don't think Perryman will have that much of the ball.
Yeah. Do you know if there's anyone in the wings, Flynn, that you think that maybe hasn't had a game yet that you think could come in, have an impact or do anything?
Is Mitchell coming back?
I forgot about Mitchell, but he's the same. He's about one pace.
That's what I was saying. He's the guy that's he's not going to increase the pace.
Honestly, there's not a lot there. Off the top of my head, obviously Finn McRae's been trialled in multiple times, but I think we've sort of gone past that a little bit.
I'd like to see CJ's brother get a couple of games in.
That's not a bad shout. I think he's got something. The other one, that I should mention, Will Hayes, the live wire.
Yeah, actually, good shout.
Sort of, he was drafted as a wingman, but I think he's sort of almost like a Bobby Hill type player, electric around the ball. I think even take a guy like Membry out of the squad, and put someone like that in, just add some, different element to the forward line. Because today, the 3 talls just didn't work today.
Yeah, it almost felt like, that's what you always question a team when they got 3 talls, because you're kind of like,
and 3 talls that, Mychek and McStay have barely played together.
Yeah.
Like, I think McStay, when he got a run at it for a bit last year, Mychek might have been injured, and obviously this is the first game they've ever played with memory, so there's not much cohesion there. Like, they just sort of seem to be running to the wrong spots.
Yeah.
Does Membry stay in your team or is he probably like a player that probably gets put down to the VFL every now and then?
I think it will depend on the opponent. I think today, was probably, we went with the talls because they have such good tall defenders.
Yeah.
But they still dominated anyway. So
how are you feeling heading into the Port matchup next week?
I was confident before today because we usually play pretty well against Port at the G, but I think Port, from what I saw in that practice match against St Kilda, I think Port are potentially going to be a pretty good side. So I think it'd be a very close one.
Okay.
As well as the fact that we've got all these guys that have, cramping up and injured and whatever, and Port get to come in.
Is DeGoey back next week, or
maybe touch and go? I think he was close this week. So
I think the other
and Houston, debuts next week.
That's the other one, big one you're missing. I think one of the positives is that last year we saw that teams can go 0-5 and 0-4 and kind of still make a run.
It's a long season, but in saying that, you don't want to be doing that. Lose to a team,
especially in a year that all the teams are going to be so close.
I know you don't want to lose like that because Pies had such a poor percentage all of last year, and it was sort of off the back of losing our first couple, getting smashed, and then winning by a little bit, and it's just like you end up with your percentage still around 100.
Yeah,
so.
No, definitely. Yeah. Look, Flynn, you've drawn the short straw today because you were talking about the Giants.
Yeah, the team that destroyed my mob. Honestly, so we did notice during the week that a lot of pundits in the AFL footy media had tipped GWS to win the flag, which I thought was a little bit confusing because I didn't really have them as high. I thought Brisbane and Geelong were sort of the benchmark, maybe even Freo. But after what I saw today, I think I understand it a bit better.
I'm still baffled that so many experts have gone and tipped the Giants to win the flag.
Yeah.
Purely for the fact that I feel like they've gotten weaker. Well, from a list perspective, losing Perryman,
I don't think Perryman's such a big loss, to be fair.
Yeah. But it was a lot of depth for him, They got to bring new guys in.
That's what I thought, but the thing you have to realise with GWS is they just have high-end draft picks waiting for opportunities. Yeah. We saw that with Leak today. Didn't play at all last year.
Yeah.
Kicked a nice goal today. They just keep coming through. They've just really... pretty much the opposite strategy to Collingwood is just keep investing in the draft.
I'm starting to feel like they're pretty close to the Cats in terms of developing their young guys. Because Lee came in and he played a really great role. Grzuski, is that how you pronounce it? Yeah.
So, look, that's how I thought it was said. And then during the telecast, someone said it completely different.
Different. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. But he was flying for the ball and he looked actually really good. I think he's a good prospect in years to come.
Yeah, they're blessed. But
sorry, Flynn, you're just saying everyone's tipped Giant for the flag. You don't know why. I felt the same. But then if you look at last year, they lost 2 finals. They should have won as well. So they should have been playing in a grand final.
And Brisbane destroyed everyone on their way to they smashed Carlton.
Yeah.
They took care of Geelong. They smashed Sydney. GWS were absolutely killing the Lions in that game. So I think the GWS's best was probably the best of any team last year.
Yeah.
But they just would dip in games for whatever
reason. They would have loved that because how often do you get another interstate team in the grand final as well?
Yeah.
That's probably their best chance for a lot of interstate teams.
Yeah. But the guy that I have to highlight, there's a bunch that I could, and Sam Taylor obviously I think is the best defender in the comp. But Finn Callahan, so I actually looked it up. I tipped him in our predictions episode to be a surprise All-Australian this year.
Yeah.
Don't know how surprising it is, but honestly, I think he could be a Brownlow medalist in the next couple of years. He's that good.
Honestly, without Tom Green there, I thought he would struggle being that first fiddle. He looked right in his element.
I'll tell you what's shocking about him is he's 6'3", almost 6'4". He was bursting away from smaller guys at every stoppage.
He was literally like gliding down the ground.
So he's big, he's strong, he's an elite kick. Like, what doesn't he have?
Yeah. When I saw the St Kilda offer to him, I was like, rolled my eyes.
Yeah.
But watching that, I go, okay, I probably see what you see in him now.
I guess you know why, like, other obviously teams have like scouts looking at players. They wonder why. Whoa, $17 million. That's stupid. You see how good they could be and could build teams around him.
Might be the only chance a team like St Kilda has to get him away from GWS as well. Like, he starts playing footy like this, that the money's just going up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like he's made a mistake re-signing as early.
But he only signed a 4-year deal, so he'll be 25 at his next contract.
But I reckon if he just let it roll and have it stellar year, he would be getting offers from everyone.
No, 100% agree. Good wrap up for all the teams, boys. Look, I want to move on because we decided to try something new this week. We thought we'd be geniuses and put on a multi we could share with everybody. Like we were gonna nail this. Do one of you boys want to explain the rules of the multi?
I'm happy to.
You go.
Yeah.
I think we were hoping to jump on after we'd won a multi and then brag about how smart we are. But what we ended up doing was, very, very low bet. But just to sort of, what we're planning to do is that we'll just put little contributions each week and to, sort of mid-odd games, sort of that 120 odds to maybe $2 at a max.
So it can't be an absolute guarantee.
Yeah, you can't be betting on a draw.
But the idea is that if we'd won, you take the winnings and you put that into the next multi.
Yeah.
Keep doubling.
There was no winnings.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think my leg was the only one that came out in the end.
I'll go through the legs.
Yeah, I did.
I'll go through the legs now.
This is actually a disgrace.
So my leg was first. It was the Pies to win.
That was the worst
That's
one
by
out of all.
far the worst one.
Whoa, what?
And you never go head to head. That's the next rule. Don't bet head to head.
You know what? No Tom
Mixed
Green,
filthy.
no Jesse Hogan. I thought it was going to be a cakewalk for him. And look,
Is that
they're on my
player
note.
like the song?
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was awesome. I love it.
And
You're only 51 points.
yeah, look,
short of whatever it was.
they're on my no tip list from until they prove it to me again.
I'm 0-2 in tips this week as well.
Padge, I didn't know this was going to come up, but Toby Green to have 15 disposals, I thought that was going to fail.
How many did you have?
18.
Oh, mate. I told you it was going to
Well,
hit.
Padge tick. Mickey, Cadman, anytime goal. How'd he
I
go?
could have kicked the goal there. He was having a set shot for it. I'm saying 30 metres out directly in front.
He should have had at least one extra shot because there was a bad miss. He did take a mark that got punched out of his hand 14 seconds later.
He dropped heaps of marks too.
Yeah, I know, but
So
also
shouldn't
that
count as an X for me. Like, I should just be like an asterisk.
I reckon Sportsbet should pay you out for
I
that.
think they should. In bonus bets.
Expected goals.
That's the next. And Flinny, you had Nick Dacos anytime goal.
In my defence, there was a sniper in the stadium that shot him multiple times in the game. The first half, he looked really good, and then his body just completely fell apart.
I reckon he hasn't been drinking water for 4 days or something. He crammed in every single spot that you can cramp.
Honestly, I'm surprised they didn't sub him out. I was like, you got to look after this guy.
At one stage, he I think he pulled his right calf, came off the field, and they started rubbing a different leg. Like, he was injured everywhere.
Yeah, look, look, boys, good attempt. One for 4 on the slip. I don't know. I mean, does this survive another week?
We could build on that. We could build on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, look,
but
we'll go
next week we'll make smarter selections.
Yeah.
Smarter selection. Should we pick a game? Is it? Actually, we'll go into our next topic and then we'll pick a game maybe at the end.
Yeah.
Because as we look to wrap it up, round 1 next week, we get
Proper round.
9 games of footy.
Yes.
Everybody's team's playing. Padge, Mick, I know you're on the edge of your seats. Now I've asked
No one else is.
Now I've asked you all, what are you looking forward to in round 1? And I've said that you can't choose your own team. So I'm going to throw it to Padge first.
Yeah, so the game that I was excited for next week...
Was it Freo Geelong?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was Freo Geelong. It's going to be home for the Cats. So it's, you want to see them start the season well, but Freo is the team that a lot of people are expecting to be an up-and-comer this year. Cats are favourites always when they're at home. So it'll be an interesting game. I think Freo has to start well.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the big things for them. They got to make sure that the Cats don't take too much advantage of the home
Freo
fans.
actually are okay at the category.
But I've got two things to add. So first of all, Geelong, I think, were slated to play their first round one or first game of the season away from their home for the first time since 2012.
Wow.
They've played every single opening game in Victoria, and they were meant to go up to Brisbane and it got cancelled. So
Conspiracy.
that's one thing.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say is if Freo at the Cattery, what's like the game that sticks out to you?
It'll be that final.
Yeah, when Geelong petitioned to get that game moved to their ground and
which
they
they
lost.
did.
Yeah,
I still remember that. It annoyed the crap out of me.
When he ran the length of the ground.
Then took it the whole way. It's like, Freo going to the home prelim for the first time. I was like, get stuffed.
Quick one off the cuff, and you can change it before next week. But what's your tip for that game, everybody?
I'll still go Geelong.
I'll go Freo.
Okay.
Why not? I rate them, and I'm as a Hawthorn supporter, I've always been waiting for Geelong to kind of fall off a little bit.
Never going to happen.
They looked a little bit slow in that Essendon game in that preseason, so I was just wondering.
I never look into preseason game properly anyways.
Yeah, that's a good point as well.
We kicked 20 goals straight and then couldn't kick him. I was going to swear that. We couldn't kick a set shot to save our life today.
Well, who was the other team that had who kicked really straight in the preseason? There was another team that
North?
Nah.
No, Essendon.
Essendon, yeah, they kicked 16-2, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a bad omen for them against the Hawks this week. You shame
I tipped it last week, Kako for 2.
All right, round one. What are we looking forward to, Mikhail?
I'm gone for the Dons versus Hawks game. Like normally, I'd be really pumped for like a Carlton Richmond game, massive crowd, but obviously you can't see that being any close or any good. Sorry, Padge, but
look Padge in the eyes when you say that.
I'm scared of Padge, I'm going down to the local pub on Friday if anyone wants to come down. I reckon, you're gonna.
Is your shout? Or?
Nicky's petitioning for friends on the potty.
No, well,
are you gonna shout for
Zach's coming, so he's like a walking wallet. So,
anyone who wants to come, Zach will shout.
So you'll probably get around that 75, 80,000.
Yeah, at least.
And this is like Bombers' first game properly for the year as well. So two massive Victorian teams. Obviously Hawthorn, playing well. Obviously not all of last year, from the back end of last year, and already carried on Friday, whenever they played.
And Essendon beat them last year.
Guys, do you think are they going to be Wizard hats? Do you think, or is that just like a finals thing?
I hope not.
I'm pretty sure all the Wizard hats are in the bin now.
Yeah.
Bring them back.
Maybe they should start wearing goggles for all the dives that he did on the weekend.
God, jeez.
That's blasphemy.
Padge is just stirring up
That's
everyone.
blasphemy. Don't bring that here.
He's
Don't
got the
bring that
Adelaide
energy.
fans after him now. He's going to get the Hawks fans.
Flinny, round one. What are you looking
The
forward
family
to?
club.
The game. So normally this probably wouldn't be much of a blockbuster, but I'm really looking forward to Western Bulldogs playing North.
Yep.
And I think purely because every year there's a bit of hype around North Melbourne with like, is this going to be the year where we see them climb the ladder?
Yep.
And we know like how good their young players are, but they get a crack at the Bulldogs without Bont, without Shaw, without Ugle-Hagan.
Yep.
I think Ed Richards will be touch and go.
Johannesson's
no
not
Liam
playing.
Jones.
Johannesson.
Yeah, so I think they'll never get a better opportunity, but there's also this feeling of like within North supporters where if we can't beat this like depleted Western Bulldogs side, we might as well just So I'm really keen to watch that because I think, honestly, and I'll throw it to you guys because I'm completely baffled with who I'm going to tip.
Look,
who would you tip going into that game?
Oh, who am I going to tip? You know what? I'm actually leaning North.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah.
Doggies?
Dogs will get it done.
I think Bulldogs in the past, I think it was Sam Darcy last year, absolutely ripped them up.
Yeah.
So
I was really impressed with the Dogs' depth playing the Hawks in the preseason.
Yeah.
Just because they had a lot of stars out, obviously, but a lot of guys were able to carry the load.
and like Davidson came in,
Yeah.
who obviously has never played for them.
The thing about that game as well, like all the guys who are playing Supercoach and Fantasy, like there is so many players that are just like on everybody's
They're
list,
gems,
basically.
yeah.
Like, no, mainly because a lot of them had poor last year. So, like, guys like Caleb Daniel, Luke Parker, they're in everybody's team, you know what I mean? Like, Zeri and Sheasel as premiums. And then you got Davidson, who's like a rookie. So everybody's watching those guys and going to wait and see how they go.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a big game.
Yeah.
I did see North fans sort of suggesting that Comben should be moved forward after what they saw of him in the practice one of the practice games. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how North shape up for the season and hopefully start well.
Yeah. And what I'm looking forward to is that grand final rematch, the Swans and the Brisbane Lions.
Yeah.
Look, I'm really keen to see how the Swans bounce back after that loss, and I just want to see, how much emotion's actually in this game. Obviously,
Where's the game at?
SCG, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong.
Nah, it'd be at Brisbane, right?
Really?
Because Sydney just had a home game.
Well, technically Brisbane would have had.
Oh, sorry, no,
well.
it's SCG.
SCG, yeah.
Yeah.
SCG. So I'm really keen, the kind of emotion behind the Swans, whether they do anything. Brisbane in their preseason game, I know, we probably shouldn't read too much into that, but they came out very hard. They treated it very much like it was a real game. And they brought that intensity from the first moment, so I'm wondering if we're going to see that again.
I honestly think Brisbane will beat them again.
Yeah.
Look, there is a history of teams losing a grand final to a team and then beating them the next time, because it means more to the losing team to get over on them. But I just reckon that Brisbane are a horrible matchup for the Swans.
Yeah.
I think Brisbane's midfield especially will look to take apart Sydney's.
I think history with these two teams is that they normally have pretty close encounters, and it tends to be the home team that normally gets up. Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I actually have no idea who I'm going to tip. I think I want to lean the Swans because I'd like to see them to win it. Yeah. But Brisbane are probably a better side on paper.
For me as well, it's similar to the Pies GWS game today. You've got, I think, Brisbane's one of the best team defences, and Swans have got like a pretty average forward setup.
Yeah.
So it just, you look at it and think, well, who's going to get off the chain for Sydney?
Yeah.
Like, they couldn't in last year's grand final. It's just hard to see for me.
Well, thanks, boys. Look, before we wrap it up, if we're going to put on another multi next week, what game should we be looking at?
What game's on Sunday?
My boys.
Let's go. No, it's too late, I reckon.
West Coast Gold Coast.
It doesn't start till 6:10.
Oh, God, jeez.
I reckon.
I hate the Eagles playing that late.
Melbourne GWS.
Surely Thursday night we're putting some bets.
I don't mind the Richmond Carlton game, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's like for
Could we actually put I'll actually say
No.
Carlton by over 80 points.
Let's put a few thousand on.
Let's put money on how on Oscar Allen coming back to Victoria.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Take it too personal. I'm trying to just get us some money, and then I bet you they lose by over 80 points, and you're gonna lose out on a good multi.
Now, before we go, I've got a rule change idea for you boys.
Yep, here we go.
So
This is going to be like a little segment that's going to come up every now and
potentially,
again.
we'll see how it goes.
What do you call it?
What's the segment called?
I don't know.
We'll change the thing.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So, we've seen with a lot of sports, they've successfully taken things from other sports that have worked out. So, like cricket takes a lot from baseball and basketball, the music, the power plays, things like that. So I was thinking that we look at other sports and we try to apply their rules to the AFL.
That's what makes AFL unique, is we're not like the other sports.
No, but this is different, all right? So
Stop ruining the game.
Stop changing the game.
So now in motorsports, they
God.
used to have the safety car, right?
Players got to wear helmets.
So they used to have a safety car, right? Then what they've started doing more recently is a virtual safety car, which means that when there's a smash, the actual races that are still going around the circuit, they still keep going, but they have to. They have a speed restriction down to 40 k's or whatever it is. Right? How about we have the same thing but applied for a stretcher? So when the stretcher comes on the field, the players are only allowed to walk. So
while they're carrying him off, the play's still going on.
Yeah. What do you reckon? So just a speed restriction.
Wait, can you power walk?
Literally,
absolutely.
The soundboard just fell off the table when you said that.
So absolutely, you can
Wait,
still.
what's the purpose of this rule?
So this is just we apply another sports rules to the AFL, and I reckon that it's when a player's injured, you can keep playing, but you're just not allowed to go full speed.
Oh, so you're saying the game continues?
The game continues. You don't have to stop the game, but the players can only walk.
So a guy's in there, like, you know, probably with his neck, probably can't walk and stuff. Like, play on.
Yeah, but you can only walk.
Have
It's
you been
safe.
have you been off your meds recently?
Maybe I've been on them.
No, so what's the purpose? Like, does the clock go slower because it's wasting time?
Oh, I'm happy to have discussions about that.
I reckon that
Do we think it could work?
no.
All right, fantastic.
I reckon
Come up with a better one next.
This
next
is-
week.
Yeah,
Zero for one.
I've got some ideas.
Let's
But
keep a tally of how many of them are shit. he's one for one for
That's
that.
one already. Bang.
yeah, all right, beautiful.
All right, big thank you to the boys for coming down, gracing us with your presence. Good luck to your teams in round one.
The Eagles.
I think the format of the episodes going forward are going to be, I think every second week we'll throw something up on YouTube, and every episode we do will go up in podcast form, so you can find us up on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, please, if there's something you want us to discuss or anything you want to ask, please ask us a question. Subscribe, tell us what you like, what you don't like, and we're more than happy to answer anything on the show as well.
We'll shout you out.
Yeah, bully me if you want.
Yeah, who cares?
Cheers, thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you.
Cheers.